Okay, then let's start with Animal Kingdom. Chapter 4, Animal Kingdom of Biology. Okay, then here we are going to see about the basis of classification of animals. When you look around you, you will observe different animals with different structures and forms. As over a million species of animals have been described till now, the need for classification became all more important. The classification also helps in assigning a systematic position to newly described species. Okay, there are many kind of organisms around you, and there are millions of species of animals which have been discovered or described actually. So since there are so many species, there is a need for us to classify them. Basis of classification. In spite of differences in structure and form of different animals, there are fundamental features common to various individuals in relation to the arrangement of cells, body symmetry, nature of coelom, patterns of digestive, circulatory, or reproductive system. These features are used as the basis of animal classification, and some of them are discussed here. There are 1 million species of animals that have been described here. That have been described till date. How are you going to classify that kind of organisms? What basis are you going to classify those organisms? That is the basis of classification. This basis of classification depends on certain common features in all of the animals, like arrangement of body cells, body symmetry, nature of coelom. Coelom means cavity, patterns of digestive, circulatory, or reproductive systems. These are the few bases used to classify the animals. Now, levels of organization. Though all the members of Animalia are multicellular, all of them do not exhibit the same pattern of organization of cells. We know that animals all are multicellular members, but that doesn't mean the structure of every organism in the kingdom of Animalia is same cells, same kind of cell arrangement. It is different. For example, in sponges, poriferans, the cells are arranged as loose cell aggregates. That is, they exhibit cellular level of organization. In sponges, if we see, they exhibit cellular level of organization. Some division of labor activities among the cell. In coelomates, the arrangement of cell is more complex. Here the cells performing the same function are arranged into tissues, hence is called tissue level organization. Basically in sponges, there are cell aggregates. There is some division of labor where a few cells are assigned to do a specific function, but this becomes more complex when we come to coelomates. Having a coelom, they have specific tissues. This is called as a tissue level organization. In poriferans, it is cellular level, it is multicellular, but it's cellular level of organization. In coelomates, we see tissue level of organization. A still higher level of classification, organization, that is organ level. It is exhibited by members of Platyhelminthes and other phyla, where tissues are grouped together to form organs. The definition of a tissue is a group of cells working together to perform a single function. The definition of an organ, a group of tissues working together to perform a similar function, that is called an organ. Each specialized for a particular function. In animals like annelids, arthropods, mollusks, echinoderms, and chordates, organs have associated to form functional system. Each system concerned with a specific physiological function. Even more complex than organ is the organ system level of classification. This is more complex, where a certain specific organs are grouped together to perform a specific type of function, like the digestive system, the circulatory system, like that, or the nervous system. This pattern is called the organ system level of organization. Organ system in different groups of animals exhibit various patterns of complexities. For example, the digestive system in Platyhelminthes has only one opening to the outside of the body that serves as both the mouth and the anus, and is hence called an incomplete digestive system. A complete digestive system has two openings, a mouth and an anus. Similarly, the circulatory system may be of two types. That is the open type, in which blood is pumped out of the heart and the cells and tissues are directly bathed in it, and the second one, closed type, in which blood is circulated through a series of vessels of varying diameters, arteries, veins, and capillaries. Symmetry. Animals can be categorized on the basis of their symmetry. Sponges are mostly asymmetrical, that is, any plane that passes through the center does not divide them into equal halves. When any plane passing through the central axis of the body divides the organism into two identical halves, it is called as radial symmetry. Coelentrates, ctenophores, and echinoderms have this kind of body plan. Animals like annelids, arthropods, etc., where the body can be divided into identical left and identical and right halves in only one plane, exhibit bilateral symmetry. Symmetry is of three types: asymmetrical, bilateral, and radial. Asymmetry is only seen in sponges, the poriferans. Radial we see in coelentrates. Example, hydra. If we see, hydra is a coelentrate and it shows radial symmetry. Coelentrates we see radial symmetry. Ctenophores we see radial symmetry. Echinoderms, starfishes, those show radial symmetry. And as for bilateral symmetry, we see in arthropods, humans, chordates, everything else shows mostly bilateral symmetry. Next kind of classification is diploblastic and triploblastic organization. Animals in which the cells are arranged in two embryonic layers, an external ectoderm and an internal endoderm, are called as diploblastic animals. Examples, coelentrates. An undifferentiated layer, mesoglea, is present in between the ectoderm and the endoderm. Those animals in which the developing embryo has a third germ layer, that is mesoderm, in between the ectoderm and the endoderm, are called triploblastic animals, platyhelminths to chordates. Okay. The diploblastic and triploblastic organization, that is the if in these derms are actually embryonic layers that we see in the embryonic stage itself. In the embryonic stage, if there are two layers, that is the ectoderm and endoderm, it is called as diploblastic animals. Example is coelentrates. There are only two layers and there is an undifferentiated layer in between those two layers called as mesoglea. And in case of higher organisms, we see triploblastic behavior. Not behavior, but configuration, we can say. Configuration, basically, the embryonic layers, there will be three layers. There will be an ecto, endo, and mesoderms instead of a mesoglea. This we see from platyhelminthes to all the way to us, the apex. Now let's go to the next one, that is coelom, a cavity. Presence or absence of cavity between the body wall and the gut wall is very important in classification. The body cavity, which is lined by mesoderm, is called a coelom. Animals possessing coelom are called as coelomates. Example, annelids, mollusks, arthropods, echinoderms, hemichordates, and chordates. In some animals, the body cavity is not lined by mesoderm. Instead, the mesoderm is present as scattered pouches in between the ectoderm and endoderm. Such a body cavity is called as pseudocoelom, false coelom, and the animals possessing them are called as pseudocoelomates. Example is Aschelminthus. The animals in which the body cavity is completely absent are called as acoelomates. Example is Platyhelminthes. Coelom is when there is a lining of mesoderm between the outer and the inner layers, like this. This is a coelomate. Second one, pseudocoelomate. It is not completely lining. There are just pouches of mesoderm in middle of the ecto and endoderms. This is pseudocoelomate. This we only see in Aschelminthus. And in case of acoelomate, we see in Platyhelminthes, there is no coelom, meaning there is no cavity. The mesoderm completely occupies the space. Now let's go to the next classification example, that is basis of classification, segmentation. In some animals, the body is externally and internally divided into segments with a serial repetition of at least some organs. For example, in earthworm, the body shows this pattern called metameric segmentation, and the phenomenon is called as metamerism. Basically, in some organisms, the body is divided into segments. It is many segments, and organs internally and externally. The organ systems inside the specific segment will be repeating. This kind of sequence or phenomenon is called as metamerism, where there is a repetition. Notochord. Notochord is mesodermally derived rod-like structure formed on the dorsal side during embryonic development in some animals. Animals with notochord are called as chordates, and those animals which do not form this structure are called as non-chordates. Example, Porifera to Echinodermata. Okay. This notochord, it is important to remember, this notochord is a mesodermally derived rod-like structure. It is formed on the dorsal side, dorsal meaning back side or upside, during embryonic development in some animals. Only in some during embryo time. Animals with notochord are called as chordates, and those animals which do not form this notochord are called as non-chordates. Now let's come to the classification of animals. The broad classification of animalia based on common fundamental features as mentioned in the preceding sections in given figure 4.4. Broad classification of kingdom animalia based on common fundamental features. If you observe this, animalia multicellular, a level of organization, it is cellular symmetry, mostly asymmetrical, body cavity or coelomate, phylum Porifera. A chart important, remember, animalia multicellular, tissue organ system, radial symmetry, acoelomata, it is coelenterata ctenophora, and bilateral symmetry without body cavity, acoelomate, platyhelminth, pseudocoelomate, aschelminthus, and true coelom, it is Annelida, Arthropoda, Mollusca, Echinodermata, Hemichordata, and Chordata. Okay. If we see, it is important to remember to not get confused that the body cavity of like poriferans are acoelomate, they do not have a body cavity. Even Ctenophora and Nidaria or Coelenterata do not have a cavity. The three classes are, wait, 1, 2, 3, yes, 3 phylum which completely lack body cavity is Porifera, Coelenterata, Ctenophora, actually 4, Platyhelminthes. These 4 lack the body cavity. and Asclepius with a false body cavity. The important characteristic features of the different phyla are described. Now, let's go to the first phylum, the most basic phylum of the animal kingdom. Phylum Porifera. Members of this phylum are commonly known as sponges. They are generally marine and are mostly asymmetrical animals. They do not have a symmetry. These are primitive multicellular animals and have cellular level of organization. Sponges have a water transport or canal system. Water enters through the minute pores called as ostia in the body and into the central cavity, that is a spongiocele, from where it goes out through the osculum. Okay, the first information given, known as sponges, mostly marine. They are asymmetric, primitive multicellular organism having cellular level of organization, have water transport or water canal system. Water enters through ostia, minute pores, into the spongiocele, then into the osculum. This pathway of water transport is helpful in food gathering, respiratory exchange, and removal of waste. Choanocytes or collar cells line the spongiocele and the canals. Digestion is intracellular. Okay, the information about the water canal system is clear. The choanocytes are collar cells. These choanocytes can be called as collar cells. These collar cells line the spongiocele, the sponge cavity, and the canals. Next is digestion is intracellular. Digestion happens not in the spongiocele but in the cells. The body is supported by a skeleton made up of spicules or spongin fibers. The body, how this body is supported, if you ask, this body is supported by a skeleton made up of spicules, also called as spongin fibers. Sexes are not separate, they are hermaphrodite, meaning they have both sexes. Eggs and sperm are produced by the same individual. Sponges reproduce asexually by fragmentation and sexually by formation of gametes. Fertilization in internal and development is indirect, having a larval stage which is morphologically distinct from the adult. Okay, they give information about reproduction of the sponges. The first information is sponges are hermaphrodite. They produce both sperm and eggs. And if through asexual reproduction, they get asexually reproduce by fragmentation. As for sexually, by formation of gametes. Fertilization is internal fertilization and development is indirect, meaning uh, just the embryo or after development at the initial stages, it is not a sponge but have a larval stage which is very different from the sponge, that is the adult. Examples for poriferans are cycon, cypha, another name, spongilla. Spongilla is a freshwater sponge, important to remember, and Euspongia, the bait sponge. Phylum Coelenterata and Cnidaria. These are aquatic, mostly marine, sessile or free-swimming, radially symmetrical animals. Information: they are mostly aquatic, mostly marine, sessile or free-swimming. Sessile meaning not able to move. Free-swimming meaning they can move. Either they can be either unable to move or they can be free swimming. Like free swimming example is jellyfish. Unable to move example is sea anemone, hydra, etc. They are radially symmetric organisms. The name Cnidaria is derived from the cnidoblast or cnidocytes, which contain the stinging capsules or nematocysts. Let's see the diagram first. Examples of Coelenterata indicating outline of their body. A is Aurelia, the jellyfish, and B is Adamsia, the polyp. Now these are polyp stages, medusa stage and a polyp stage. This is a cnidoblast cell. Cnidoblast cells are specific stinging cells present in these animals. From these cnidoblast cells, the name is derived as Cnidaria, or we can call it as Coelenterata as well. But in the name, there is another name for Coelenterata phylum, that is Cnidarians. Cnidoblasts are cnidocytes which contain stinging capsules or nematocysts. These cnidoplasts can also be called as nematocysts. These Coelentratas are also called as nematodes, nematoda, present on the tentacles on the body. Cnidoblasts are used for anchorage, defense, and for capture of prey. Cnidarians exhibit tissue level of organization and are diploblastic. They have tissue level of organization and they are diploblastic. They have a central gastrovascular cavity with a single opening, mouth on a hypostome. Digestion is not intracellular, unlike poriferans, it is extracellular and intracellular. Some of the cnidarians, example corals, have a skeleton composed of calcium carbonate. Cnidarians exhibit two basic body forms called as polyp and medusa. The former, meaning the polyp, is a sessile, unmoving, non-motile, and cylindrical form that like that of a hydra or adamsia, whereas the latter, that is medusa stage, is the umbrella shaped and free swimming like Aurelia or jellyfish. Those cnidarians which exist in both forms exhibit alteration of generations, metagenesis, that is polyps produce medusa asexually and medusa form polyps sexually, example obelia. Okay, what they are saying here is, first things first, and stinging capsules or okay, yes, cnidoblast. What is the use of this cnidoblast cells? It is used for anchorage, defense, and capture of prey. These organisms exhibit tissue level of organization. They have a tissue level of organization and they are diploblastic. They have a central gastrovascular cavity. There is a gastrovascular cavity which help in digestion, and the digestion is both extra and intracellular. Some of the cnidarians have a skeleton composed of calcium carbonate. There are two stages. There is a special there are two stages in cnidarians. One is medusa stage, like the jellyfish stage. You cannot call it the jellyfish stage. It is a free swimming stage where they can swim freely, and the sessile stage, that is a polyp phase, that they cannot move. Adamsia are organisms which exhibit both these stages, are like the organisms which are in the polyp form are in the polyp phase, and the medusa form like a jellyfish. But in case of obelia, it exhibits both the forms, where it shows alteration in generation. Polyp produces medusa asexually, whereas medusa produces polyp sexually. Examples are Physalia, the Portuguese man of war, Adamsia, sea anemone, Penatula, sea pen, Gorgonia, sea fan, and Meandrina, brain coral. Now next is phylum Ctenophora. Not much is given, but very important to remember the little information given. Ctenophora, commonly known as sea walnuts or comb jellies, are exclusively marine animals. They are radially symmetrical, diploblastic organisms with tissue level of organization. The body bears 8 external rows of ciliated comb plates which help in locomotion. Digestion is both extracellular and intracellular. Bioluminescence, a very important property. The property of a living organism to emit light is well marked in the ctenophores. Sexes are not separate. Reproduction takes place only by sexual means. Fertilization is external with indirect development. Examples are Chlorobrachia and Ctenophora. What they are saying here is, first information given here, ctenophores basically are commonly called as sea walnuts or comb jellies. They are radially symmetrical. We know that Ctenophora and Coelenterata are the phylums which exhibit radial symmetry, and these are radially symmetrical. They are diploblastic organisms. They have a tissue level of organization. The body bears 8, this is a special feature, they have uh, comb plates. They are external rows of ciliated comb plates which help in locomotion. They're just like combs, but help in locomotion and anchorage. That is the first unique feature. Then bioluminescence. Okay, wait. Before that, digestion is both extracellular and intracellular, just like Nidaria. And bioluminescence, it is a property of theirs to emit light. They emit light in the deep sea. And reproduction takes place, sexes are not separate, meaning they are hermaphrodite, they are bisexual. Reproduction takes place only by sexual means. And fertilization is external with indirect development. Examples for this phylum are Chlorobrachia and Ctenophora. Next phylum is, and it's not Ctenophora, it's Ctenoplana. Phylum next is phylum Platyhelminthes. Okay, Platyhelminthes, flatworms. That is what they mean. Platy, flat, helminthes, worm. They have dorso-ventrally flattened body. That is why we call it as flat. Hence are called as flatworms. These are mostly endoparasites found in animals, including human beings. Flatworms are bilaterally symmetrical, triploblastic, and acoelomate animals with organ system level of classification, organization. Okay, hooks and suckers are present in the parasitic forms. Hooks and suckers are present in the parasitic forms. Some of them absorb nutrients from the host directly through their body surface. Specialized cells called as flame cells helps in osmoregulation and excretion. Sexes are not separate. Fertilization is internal and development is through many larval stages. Some members like planaria possess high regeneration capacity. Examples are Tania, tapeworm, fasciola, the liver fluke. Is that all? That was pretty short. Anyways. Okay, the platyhelminthes, these organisms, they have a flat body. That is why they're called as platyhelminthes. Flatworms. They can be either free living or endoparasites. That can be found, there can be endoparasites in animals, including human beings. They are bilaterally symmetrical, triploblastic animals, acoelomate animals. don't have coelom, which we saw the example when we are talking about coelom before, types of coelom before. And there is hooks and suckers which are present in the parasitic forms. Some of them absorb nutrition from the host body through their body surface. Now the next is very important information. Specialized cells called as flame cells are help in osmoregulation and excretion. There are special cells called as flame cells in these organisms which help in osmoregulation and excretion. Sexes are not separate, meaning they are hermaphrodite, bisexual. Fertilization is internal and development is through many larval stages. Some members like planaria possess high regeneration capacity. Okay. Examples are Taenia, the actual name of the worm, is stepworm, and Fasciola, the liver fluke. Now, the next one is phylum Aschelminthes. The body of the Aschelminthes, in case of Aschelminthes, helminthes means worms and Asch means round, roundworms. The body of the Aschelminthes is circular in cross section, hence the name roundworms. They may be free living, aquatic, and terrestrial, or parasitic in plants and animals. Roundworms have organ system level of body organization. They are bilaterally symmetrical, triploblastic, and pseudocoelomate animals. Alimentary canal is complete with a well-developed muscular pharynx. An excretory tube removes body waste from the body cavity through the excretory pore. Sexes are separate. Here we see in other cases they're not separate, but in case of roundworms, they are separate. They are dioecious, that is, males and females are distinct. Often females are longer than males. Fertilization is internal and development may be direct. The young ones resemble the adult, or indirect. Examples is Ascaris roundworm, Wuchereria pilaria worm, and Cyclostoma hookworm. Okay, what they are saying here is first information. They are called roundworms because they have a circular body. They may be free living, they may be aquatic, live in water, they may be terrestrial, live on surface of earth, they may be parasitic, live in plants and animals. That is the second information. They have an organ system of level body of organization. They are bilaterally symmetrical. They have bilateral symmetry. Triploblastic and pseudocoelomate animals. We saw specifically the only example in pseudocoelomate was Aschelminthes. They have a pseudocoelom and they have a complete alimentary canal with a well-developed muscular pharynx, meaning they have a complete digestive system with a mouth and an anus separate, and they also have a muscular pharynx. There is also an excretory tube which removes waste from the body cavity through the excretory pore. They have separate sexes, they are dioecious. Male and female are distinct. Often males are shorter than the females. Fertilization is internal and development may be direct or indirect. If we see the male and female, the female is quite easily larger than the male, and the male has a tapering tail at the end. Examples are Ascaris, called the roundworm, Wuchereria, the filaria worm, and Ancylostoma, the hookworm. Next is phylum Annelida. Phylum Annelida, they may be aquatic, marine and freshwater, or terrestrial, free living, and sometimes parasitic. They exhibit organ system level of body organization and bilateral symmetry. They are triploblastic, metamerically segmented, and coelomate animals. Their body surfaces is distinctly marked out into segments or metamers, and hence the phylum name Annelida. Annelida meaning little rings. Latin annulus, little ring. They possess longitudinal and circular muscles which help in locomotion. Aquatic annelids like Nereis possess lateral appendages called as parapodia which help in swimming. A closed circular system is present, that is. Next is nephridia or nephridium help in the flame cells help in uh, osmoregulation and excretion in platyhelminthes. Here it is nephridia in annelida. Help in osmoregulation and excretion. Neural system consists of paired ganglia, single ganglion, connected by lateral nerves to a dorsal ventral nerve cord. Nereis, an aquatic form, is dioecious, but earthworms and leeches are monoecious. Reproduction is sexual. Examples are Nereis, Paratima, and Hirudinaria. Okay. Phylum Annelida. This phylum, the habitat of this phylum may be aquatic, it might be marine or freshwater. They can be free living, they can be terrestrial, they can be parasitic as well. They exhibit an organ system level of organization, body organization, and they are bilaterally symmetrical. They are triploblastic, they have a coelom, they have metamerical segmentations, they have bodies segmented clearly. We see in the diagram many segments are there, and these segments are called as metamers, and due to that the name was derived as this. Since we see as little rings, we call it as in Latin annulus, and the name phylum name is Annelida. Aquatic annelids like Nereis is an aquatic annelid. They have appendages, lateral appendages called parapodia, and some other possess longitudinal and circular muscles which help in locomotion. Parapodia help in swimming. They possess a closed circulatory system, and they have nephridia which help in osmoregulation and excretion. Their neural system consists of a paired ganglia. These ganglia are connected to the lateral nerve cord to a double ventral nerve cord. Nereis is an aquatic form and it is dioecious. Like they can be dioecious, that is monosexual or bisexual. In case of Nereis, it is bisexual. In case of earthworm or hirudinaria, the leeches, those are monoecious, meaning they are hermaphrodite or bisexual. The next one is the largest phylum of kingdom Animalia, that is phylum Arthropoda, the most hated one as well, or maybe not. Phylum Arthropoda, this is the largest phylum of Animalia, which includes insects. The largest phylum which includes insects. Over 2/3 of all named species on Earth are arthropods, meaning 2 by 3 of all animals named, all species named are arthropods. They have organ system level of organization. They are bilaterally symmetrical, triploblastic, segmented, and coelomate animals. The body of arthropods is covered by chitinous exoskeleton. The body consists of head, thorax, and abdomen. They have jointed appendages, arthros joint, poda appendages. That is the meaning of the name. Arthro meaning joint, poda meaning legs or appendages. So jointed appendages. Respiratory organs are gills, book lungs, or tracheal system. Circulatory system is of open type. Sensory organs like antennae, eyes that can be compound or simple. Statocysts or balancing organs are present. Excretion takes place through malpighian tubules. They are mostly dioecious. Fertilization is usually internal. They are mostly oviparous. Development may be direct or indirect. There are many, so there's no certain quality that is applicable to all, unlike the most common ones. Example is economically important insects like Apis indica, Apis, that is honeybee, bombyx, that is silkworm, lacifer, that is lassie insect, lag insect, vectors which spread diseases, the Anopheles, culex, Aedes, mosquitoes, gregarious pest, locusta, living fossil, the limulus, king crab. Okay, the phylum Arthropod. This is the largest phylum in all of the Animalia kingdom, which is completely made up of or consists of insects. They have a organ system level of classification, organization. They are bilaterally symmetrical. They are triploblastic, segmented, they also have segmentation, and they are coelomate. The body of arthropods is covered by a chitinous exoskeleton. This is a specialty of arthropods. There is chitin in their exoskeleton. The body is divided into head, thorax, abdomen. The body is divided into three parts, that is the head, thorax, and abdomen. They have jointed appendages like the legs of a scorpion, spider, etc. Respiratory organs are gills, gills, book lungs, or tracheal system. Circulatory system is of the open type. In case of Aschelminthes and annelids, we saw it was closed circulatory system. Closed. Yes, in annelida it is closed. It might have not been mentioned here. Fine. Annelida are closed but closed circulatory system, but arthropoda have an open circulatory system. There is a serum and blood will go to the individual organs into that serum and it will directly bathe all the cells. There are sensory organs. If we take, there are sensory organs like antenna, eyes that can be compound eyes or simple eyes. There are statocysts, these are acting as balancing organs. Excretion takes place through excretory organs, that is malpighian tubules. In platyhelminthes, flame cells. In annelida, it is nephridia. In arthropoda, it is malpighian tubules. They are mostly dioecious, meaning monosexual. Sexes are different. Fertilization is usually internal fertilization. They are mostly oviparous. The development may be direct or indirect. Examples are given here. Now let's go to the next. It is the phylum of mollusca. It is the second largest phylum in the animal kingdom. This is the second largest animal phylum. Mollusks are terrestrial or aquatic, marine or freshwater, having an organ system level of classification. They are bilaterally symmetrical, triploblastic, Coelomate animals' body is covered by a calcareous shell and is unsegmented with a distinct head, muscular foot, and a visceral hump. A soft and spongy layer of skin forms a mantle over the visceral hump. The space between the hump and the mantle is called the mantle cavity, in which feather-like gills are present. They have respiratory and excretory functions. The anterior head region has sensory tentacles. The mouth contains a file-like rasping organ for feeding called as radula. They are usually dioecious, oviparous with indirect development. Okay. The phylum of Mollusca. It is the second largest animal phylum. Characteristic, the habitat, they are mostly terrestrial or aquatic. They can be aquatic like octopus. They can even be marine or freshwater. They have an organ system level of classification. They have a bilateral symmetry. They are triploblastic. They have a coelom. The body is covered by a calcareous shell, like in case of a snail, Pila globosa. There is a calcareous shell. And one distinct feature is, unlike the arthropods and annelids, body is unsegmented. There are no segments. Smooth body. And the body is easily differentiable into head, muscular foot, and visceral hump. There is a soft and spongy layer of skin. This forms a mantle over the visceral hump, and the space between the hump and the mantle is called the mantle cavity, in which the feather-like gills are present. These organisms have respiratory and organs, that is the feather-like gills, have respiratory and excretory functions. The anterior head has a sensory tentacle. The mouth contains a file-like rasping organ for feeding. This is called as radula. Very important information. The mouth contains a file-like rasping organ for feeding. This organ is called as radula. These are usually dioecious and oviparous animals. They have an indirect development mostly. Examples are Pila, the apple snail, pearl oyster, pintada, sepia, cuttlefish, loligo, squid, octopus, the devilfish, aplysia, sea hare, dentalium, tusk shell, and Catopleura chiton. Now let's go to the phylum Echinodermata. Echinodermata can be split into echino and dermata. Echino meaning spine, dermata mean skin, spiny skinned organisms. The meaning, these animals have an endoskeleton of calcareous ossicles and hence the name Echinodermata, spiny bodied figure. All are marine with organ system level of organization. The adult echinoderms are radially symmetrical, but larvae are bilaterally symmetrical. The triploblastic and coelomate animals' digestive system is incomplete with mouth on the lower ventral side and the anus its complete digestive system with mouth on the lower side and anus on the upper side. The most distinct feature of echinoderms is the water vascular system, which helps in locomotion, capture, and transport of food and respiration. An excretory system is absent. Sexes are separate. Reproduction is sexual. Fertilization is usually external. Development is indirect with free swimming larvae. Examples are, I'll read the examples after explanation. Echinodermata. These animals have an endoskeleton of calcareous ossicles and these protrude outside. Due to this, they have a spiny skin and hence are called as echinodermata. All of them are marine and they have an organ system level of organization. Their organ system level of organization and all of them are marine organisms. The adult echinoderms are radially symmetrical, but larvae are actually bilateral symmetry. So echinoderms are a phylum which exhibit both bilateral and radial symmetry. At the larval stage, it is bilateral. At adult stage, it is radial. And they are triploblastic animals. They have a coelom as well. Digestive system is complete digestive system with an anus and a mouth. The anus is present on the dorsal side, the mouth is present in the ventral side, and the distinct feature of echinoderms is the water vascular system, which helps in locomotion, capture of food and transport of food and respiration. There is no excretory system. The water vascular system does the job. The sexes are separate. It is dioecious animals, and reproduction is sexual. Fertilization is usually external. Development is indirect with free swimming larvae. Examples are Asterias, the starfish, Echinus, the sea urchin, Antedon, the sea lily, Cucumeria, the sea cucumber, and Ophiura, the brittle star. Examples of Echinodermata, there is Ophiura. Now the next phylum, I will start after a 10-minute break. Okay, then the break's over. Let's start. Now, phylum Hemichordata. Phylum Hemichordata. Hemichordata was earlier considered as a subphylum under phylum Chordata, but now it is placed as a separate phylum under non-Chordata. Hemichordates have a rudimentary structure in the collar region called as a stomochord, a structure similar to the notochord. This phylum consists of a small group of worm-like marine animals with organ system level of organization. They are bilateral symmetrical, triploblastic, and coelomate. The body is cylindrical and is composed of an anterior proboscis, a collar, and a long trunk. Circulatory system is of the open type. Respiration takes place through gills, excretory organs, proboscis gland, sexes are different. Fertilization is external, development is indirect. Example are belonoglossus and saccoglossus. This is the diagram. Belonoglossus, there is a trunk here, the collar, the gills here, the proboscis gland. This is the collar. This phylum, the Hemichordata, was first considered a subphylum under the main phylum Chordata. But why that was the case? Because these unique organisms had a stomochord in them, which was very similar to a notochord, but was not actually a notochord. Because of that, before they were considered as a subphylum under the phylum Chordata. This phylum consists of a small group of worm-like marine animals. With organ system level of organization. They have an organ system level of organization. They have bilateral symmetry, triploblastic, coelomate animals. Their body is symmetrical, composed of a proboscis, a collar, and a long trunk. This proboscis gland helps in excretion, and respiration takes place through the gills. The sexes are separate, meaning they are dioecious animals, and fertilization is external. Development is indirect. Examples are Belanoglossus and Saccoglossus. Now let's go to the main phylum, that is the phylum of Chordata. Animals belonging to the phylum Chordata are fundamentally characterized by the presence of a notochord, a dorsal hollow nerve cord, and a paired pharyngeal gill sets. These are the three main features of the phylum Chordata. First one being presence of a notochord, second one dorsal hollow nerve cord, paired pharyngeal gill slits. These are bilaterally symmetrical, triploblastic, coelomate organ level system of classification organ system level of classification or organization. They possess a post-anal tail and a closed circulatory system. Presents a comparison of salient features of chordates and non-chordates. The table here is, we will see once. Chordates, notochord present, non-chordates, notochord absent. Chordates, central nervous hollow system is dorsal, hollow and single. The central nervous system is ventral, solid and double. Pharynx pharynx perforated by gill slits absent. Heart is ventral, heart is dorsal if that is present. A post-anal part, that is a tail, is present. A post-anal tail is absent. The features here, they are bilaterally symmetrical triploblastic animals. They have coelom, they have an organ system level of classification. They possess a post-anal tail and a closed circulatory system. The phylum Chordata is again divided into three subphylums, that is Urochordata, Tunicata, Cephalochordata, and Vertebrata. Urochordata is also called as Tunicata. Then we have the Cephalochordata and Vertebrata. We are under the subphyla of Vertebrata. Subphyla Urochordata and Cephalochordata are often referred to as the protochordates. They are not the new chordates, they are the primitive chordates, not the latest model, the oldest model, and are exclusively marine. They are exclusively marine. In Urochordata, notochord is present only in the larval tail. Urochordata, they have a notochord only in a part of their life cycle, that is in the larval tail. While in case of Cephalochordata, it extends from head to tail region and is persistent throughout their life. Notochord, in case of Cephalochordata, it persists throughout their life and it extends from head to tail. Examples of Urochordata are Acidia, Salpa, Doliolum, and Cephalochordata. It is Branchiostoma, Amphioxus, or Lancelet. Basically, in case of Urochordates, the notochord is only present in a part of their life cycle, that is at the larval tail. In Cephalochordate, it is present throughout their life and extends from head to tail region. Now coming for the vertebrata, the members of subphyla vertebrata possess a notochord during the embryonic period. The notochord is replaced by a cartilaginous or bony vertebral column in the adult. The vertebrata, this phylum also consists of a notochord, but it is only in the embryonic stage. After the embryonic stage, this notochord is replaced by a vertebral column made of cartilaginous bony structure, that is a vertebral column, bones. Thus, all vertebrates are chordates, but all chordates are not vertebrates. Besides the basic chordate characters, vertebrates have a ventral muscular heart with 2, 3, or 4 chambers, kidneys for excretion and osmoregulation, and a paired appendages which may be fins or limbs. Okay, all the vertebrates are chordates, but not all chordates are vertebrates. Besides the basic characters, vertebrates, these also have a special heart, a muscular heart, which is a ventral muscular heart, which can be 2 to 4 chambers, 2, 3, and 4. There are kidneys for excretion and osmoregulation. There are a pair of appendages, 4 appendages, that may be fins or limbs. Subphyla vertebrata is further divided as follows. Vertebrata is divided into division Anata, that is a lax jaw, called only one class under this Anata, that is Cyclostoma, and Gnathostomata, bear's jaws, it is a superclass, and under this there are 2 superclasses, that is Pisces, the fish, they have bare fins. Then again one more superclass, that is Tetrapoda, they bear limbs. Under the superclass species, there are chondrichthyes and osteichthyes. Chondrichthyes are cartilaginous fishes, osteichthyes are bony fishes. Under Tetrapoda, there are 4 classes, the amphibia, reptilia, aves, and finally mammals. Now the class Cyclostoma under Anata. All living members of the class Cyclostoma are ectoparasites, ectoparasites on some fishes. We saw endoparasites, now these are ectoparasites. They have an elongated body bearing 6 to 15 pairs of gill slits for respiration. Cyclostomas have sucking and circular mouth without jaws. Their body is devoid of scales, they don't have scales, and paired fins, they also don't have paired fins. Cranium and vertebral column are cartilaginous. Circulation is of the closed type. Cyclostomes are marine but migrate for spawning to fresh water. Spawning meaning for giving birth. After spawning, within a few days, they die. Their larvae, after metamorphosis, return to the ocean. Examples are Petromyzon, that is a lamprey, and Nyxine, the hagfish. Okay, all the living members of the class Cyclostomata. These are all ectoparasites of some fishes. and these have elongated body having 6 to 15 pairs of lungs, not lungs, but gill slits for respiration. Cyclostomata have a sucking and circular mouth without jaws. That is why they were placed under another division, because they don't have jaws and they do not have scales, they do not have paired fins. The vertebral and cranium are cartilaginous. Circulation is closed type. Cyclostomes are marine, but for this is a special phenomenon. They are marine animals, but for spawning, they come to rivers or fresh water and they give birth. And after a few days, the adult one will die, and the larvae formed will metamorphosize into a new cyclostomata, and it will again migrate into the ocean. Examples are Petromyzon, the lamprey, and Myxine, the hagfish. Now let's go to the class under the pisces. That is class Chondrichthyes, the cartilaginous fishes. They are marine animals with streamlined body and have cartilaginous endoskeleton. Mouth is located ventrally. Notochord is persistent throughout life. Gill slits are separate and without operculum. The skin is tough, containing minute placoid scales. Teeth are modified placoid scales which are backwardly directed. Their jaws are very powerful. These animals are predaceous, meaning they are sea predators. Due to the absence of air bladder, they have to swim constantly to avoid sinking. Heart is two-chambered, one auricle and one ventricle. Some of them have electric organs, that is, example is a torpedo, and some possess a poison sting, example a trigon. They are cold-blooded, poikilothermic animals. They lack the capacity to regulate their body temperature. Sexes are separate. In males, pelvic fins bear claspers. They have internal fertilization, and many of them are viviparous. Examples are Scoliodon, the dogfish, Pristis, the sawfish, Carcharodon, the great white shark, the trigon, stingray. Okay. The class of Chondrichthyes. They are marine animals. They have a streamlined body and they have a cartilaginous endoskeleton, sorry. Mouth is located ventrally. Notochord is persistent throughout life. There is no operculum. Operculum is a covering which is present in osteichthyes that covers their gill slits, but in case of chondrichthyes, it is not there. The skin is tough, containing placoid scales. These scales are very tough, and their teeth are modified placoid scales which are directed backwards to help in catching the prey. And their jaws are very powerful. They are very predaceous animals, but due to an absence of air bladder, they do not have the buoyancy force, so they will have to swim constantly, otherwise they will sink. Heart is two-chambered. They have a two-chambered heart. They have one ventricle and one auricle. Some of them have electric organs like a torpedo, and some possess a poison sting, that is a trigon. They are cold-blooded, poikilothermic animals. They lack the capacity to regulate their body temperature. They are dioecious animals. The male pelvic fins bear claspers. They have internal fertilization, and many of them are viviparous. Examples are Scoliodon the dogfish, Pristis the sawfish, Carcharodon the great white shark, and Trigon the stingray. Now let's go to the next class, that is osteichthyes. Examples are the hippocampus, the seahorse, and cutla. It includes both marine and freshwater fishes with bony endoskeleton. There it was cartilaginous. Here it is bony. Their body is streamlined as well. Mouth is mostly terminal, not ventral, like in case of chondrichthyes. They have 4 pairs of gills which are covered by an operculum on each side. They have an operculum. Skin is covered with cycloid or tenoid scales. Air bladder is present, which regulates buoyancy. Heart is two-chambered, one auricle and one ventricle. They are cold-blooded animals, dioecious animals. Fertilization is usually external. They are mostly oviparous and development is direct. Oviparous animals, development is also direct. Examples are marine, exocytus, the flying fish, hippocampus, seahorse, freshwater labio, rohu, katla, clarias, magur, aquarium, the betta, the fighting fish, pterophyllum, the angelfish. Now the next is class Amphibia. As the name indicates, amphi meaning dual, bia or bios, dual life. Amphibia means dual life. Amphibians can live in aquatic as well as terrestrial habitats. Most of them have two pairs of limbs. Body is divisible into head and trunk. Tail may be present in some. The amphibian's skin is moist without scales. The eyes have eyelids. There is a tympanum that represents the ear. Alimentary canal, urinary and reproductive tracts open into a common chamber called as the cloaca, which opens to an exterior. Respiration is by gills, lungs, and through skin. The heart is three-chambered, two auricles, and one ventricle. These are cold-blooded animals. Sexes are separate. Fertilization is external. They are oviparous, and development is indirect. Examples are buffo, rana, hyla, salamandra, ichthyophis, etc. Now, they have a dual life. They cannot complete their life cycle without water. They live in both terrestrial and aquatic habitats. And they have two pairs of limbs. The body is divisible into head and trunk. There is tail in some, like in case of salamander, and in case of frog, there is no tail. In case of frog, there is no tail. And the eyes have eyelids. There is a tympanum which represents the ear, and there is an alimentary canal, urinary and reproductive tracts open into the common chamber called as cloaca, which opens to the exterior. Respiration is by gills, lungs, and through skin. The heart is three-chambered. There are two auricles and one ventricle. These are cold-blooded animals. Sexes are separate. Fertilization is external. That is why they depend on water for fertilization. They are oviparous. Development is indirect. Buffo toad, rana frog, hyla tree frog, salamander, ichthyophis or whatever it is, limbless amphibia. This is under the phylum of a superclass of Tetrapoda, but there is also animals Ichthyophis which is limbless, which doesn't have the four limbs. Reptiles, a chameleon here, crocodile, bee, and chilon, a tortoise, and D, naja, the cobra. Class Reptilia. The class name refers to their creeping or crawling mode of locomotion. Latin repier or reptum, to creep or crawl. Because they creep or crawl in motion, they are called as reptilia. They are mostly terrestrial animals and their body is covered by dry and conified skin. Epidermal scales or scutes. They do not have external ear openings. Tympanum, similar to amphibia, represents the ear. Limbs, if present, are two pairs. Heart is usually three-chambered but four-chambered in case of crocodiles. Reptiles are poikilotherms. Snakes and lizards shed their scales as skin cast. Sexes are separate. Fertilization is internal. They are oviparous and development is direct. Examples are chilone, a turtle, testudo, a tortoise, chameleon, a tree lizard, calotes, a garden lizard, crocodilus, crocodile, alligator, alligator, hemidactylus, the wall lizard, poisonous snakes, naja naja, the cobra, bangarus, the crate, vipera, the viper. Now the next class is the aves, which includes all of the birds, most of them. The characteristic feature of aves birds are the presence of feathers, and most of them can fly except the flightless birds. Example is ostrich. They possess a beak. The forelimbs are modified into wings. The hind limbs generally have scales and are modified for walking, swimming, clasping the tree branches. Skin is dry without gland except the oil gland at the base of the tail. Endoskeleton is fully ossified, it is bony, and the long bones are hollow with air cavities. Pneumatic bones. The digestive tract of birds has additional chambers. The crop and gizzard heart is completely four-chambered. They are warm-blooded homeothermous animals. That is, they are able to maintain constant body temperature. Respiration is by lungs, air sacs connected to lungs, supplement respiration. Sexes are separate. Fertilization is internal. They are oviparous and development is direct. Now let's see the characteristics once more. The characteristic features of aves are the presence of feathers. This is the most characteristic feature. Most of them can fly except flightless birds. Example of flightless birds is ostrich. And they possess a beak. Their forelimbs, the front limbs are modified into wings. The hind limbs, that are the legs, are modified for walking, swimming, and clasping. And they also generally have scales, the hind limbs only. And the skin doesn't possess any glands, it is mostly dry except for the oil gland at the base of the tail. Endoskeleton, the skeleton is uh, pneumatic, meaning it's hollow. Why so? It is to reduce the weight of the bird. Fully ossified, full of holes. And long bones are hollow with air cavities, pneumatic bones. The digestive tract of bird has additional chambers. The digestive uh, the digestive tract of birds, it has additional chambers, the crop and the gizzard. Heart is completely four chambered. Heart has four chambers, and they are homeothermic animals, like they're warm blooded, meaning they can regulate their body temperature. Respiration is by lungs. They have lungs. Air sacs are connected to the lungs to supplement respiration. Sexes are separate. Fertilization is internal. They're oviparous and development is direct. Some birds are neophron, the eagle, the struthio, ostrich, pistacula, the parrot, and pavo, the peacock. Corvus, the crow, columba, the pigeon, parrot, struthio, pavo, peacock, and aptenodytes, that is the penguin, neophron. Neophron is not the eagle, it is the vulture. Next is class Mammalia. They are found in variety of habitats, polar ice caps, deserts, mountains, forests, grasslands, and dark caves, like bats. Some of them have adapted to fly or live in water. The most unique mammalian characteristic is the presence of milk producing glands, that is, the mammary glands. by which the young ones are nourished. They have two pairs of limbs adapted for walking, running, climbing, burrowing, swimming, or flying. The skin is covered by hair, is unique in possessing hair, like how the birds possess feathers, the mammals possess hair. External ears or pinna are present. Different types of teeth are present in the jaw. Heart is four-chambered. They are homeothermous. They can regulate their body temperature. Respiration is by lungs. Sexes are separate and fertilization is internal. They are viviparous animals with few exceptions and development is direct. Examples: oviparous. There is actually an oviparous animal that is the under the mammals, that is the platypus basically, Ornithorhynchus. Viviparous are Marcopus the kangaroo, Pteropus the flying fox, Camelus the camel, Macaca the monkey, Rattus rat, Canis dog, Felis cat, Elephas elephant, Equus horse, Delphinus common dolphin, Balinoptera the blue whale, Panthera tigris tiger, Panthera leo the lion. The salient features of the all phyla under animal kingdom is comprehensively given in table 4.2. Let's check the large table. Now, level of organization: Porifera cellular, Coelenterata nidaria tissue level, Ctenophora tissue, Platyhelminthes organ system, Restolar organ system. Symmetry: Porifera asymmetrical, Coelenterata radial, Ctenophora radial, Restolar bilateral. Coelom absent for Porifera nidaria, Ctenophora platyhelminthes, pseudocoelomate for Aschelminthes, Restolar coelomate. Segmentation absent for Porifera, only present in uh, segmentation is only present in Annelida and Arthropoda. Restola, even Chordata has some segmentation. Annelida, Arthropoda, and Chordata have segmentation. And digestive system absent in Porifera, incomplete in Coelenterata and Ctenophora. Platyhelminthes also. It is complete after Platyhelminthes for all of the other. Circulatory system is absent for Porifera, absent for Coelenterata, absent for Ctenophora, absent for Platyhelminthes, absent for Aschelminthes, and from Annelida onwards, it is closed circulatory system. Well, it is present actually. Respiratory system absent till Annelida. From Arthropoda onwards, it's present. No, Annelida, no, it's Arthropoda. Arthropoda, mollusca, echinodermata, hemichordata, and chordata, respiratory system is present. Distinctive features of Porifera: body with pores and canals in walls. Coelenterata, nidoblast present. Ctenophora, comb plates for locomotion and bioluminescence. Platyhelminthes, flat body suckers. Aschelminthes, often worm-shaped, elongated, roundworms. Annelida, body segmented like rings. Arthropoda, exoskeleton of cuticle jointed appendages. Mollusca, external skeleton of shell usually present. Echinodermata, water vascular system, radial symmetry. Hemichordata, worm-like with proboscis, collar and trunk. Chordata, notochord, dorsal hollow nerve cord, gill slits with limbs or fins. Now summary, there is a 1.25 page summary. The basic fundamental features such as level of organization, symmetry, cell organization, coelom, segmentation, notochord, etc. have enabled us to broadly classify the animal kingdom. Besides the fundamental features, there are many other distinctive characters which are specific for each phyla or class. Porifera includes multicellular animals which exhibit cellular level of organization and have characteristic flagellated choanocytes. Extra information characteristics flagellated conocytes. The coelentrates have tentacle and pair nidoblasts. They are mostly aquatic, sessile, or free floating. The ctenophores are marine animals with comb plates. The platyhelminthes have flat body and exhibit bilateral symmetry. The parasitic forms show distinct suckers and hoop. Ascalminthes are pseudo coelomates and include parasites as well as non-parasitic roundworms. As well as non-parasitic roundworms. Annelids are mathematically segmented animals with a true coelom. The arthropods, the most abundant group of animals characterized by the presence of jointed appendages. The mollusks have a soft body surrounded by an external shell. The body is covered with external skeleton made of chitin. The echinodermata possess a spiny skin. Their most distinctive feature is the presence of a water vascular system. The hemichordates are a small group of worm-like animals. Marine animals. They have a cylindrical body with proboscis, collar, and trunk. Phylum Chordata includes animals which possess a notochord either throughout or during early embryonic life. Other common features observed in the chordates are the dorsal hollow nerve cord and paired pharyngeal gill slits. Some of the vertebrates do not possess jaws, Aenata, whereas most of them possess jaws, Aenatostomata. Aenata is represented by the class Cyclostomata. They are the most primitive chordates and are ectoparasites on fishes. Gnatostomata has two superclasses, Pisces and Tetrapoda. Classes Chondrichthyes and Osteichthyes bear fins for locomotion and are grouped under Pisces. The chondrichthyes are fishes with cartilaginous endoskeleton and are marine classes. Amphibia, reptilia, aves, and mammalia have two pairs of limbs and are thus grouped under tetrapoda. The amphibia have adapted to live both in land and water. Reptiles are characterized by the presence of dry and cornified skin. Limbs are absent in snakes. Fishes, amphibians, and reptiles are phycalotherms. Cold-blooded, aves are warm-blooded animals with feathers on their bodies and forelimbs modified into wings for flying. Hind limbs are adapted for walking, swimming, perching, or clasping. The unique features for mammals are the presence of mammary glands and hair on the skin. They commonly exhibit viviparity. With that first revision of this chapter. Okay, then